Hi everyone, it's Kristen. So today we're going to be talking about this Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone and David Marquez. And first of all, I love the cover. It grabs you right away. I mean, if I saw this on, the newsstands, I would pick it up because it's so different than other covers. I mean, you can see a Jubilee's hand, Rogue's gloved hand, Gambit with the cards, Nightcrawler's tail, Wolverine's claws. I mean, you know who's in the book. It just, like I said, it's a different cover, and I really like it. So, so this is after the Krakoa era has ended, and I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. You know me and pronunciations. Anyway, if I didn't pronounce that right, correct me in the comments because I need to know how to pronounce it. Um, okay, I will say I did like that era. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. It shook things up. It had the X-Men be in, different location. So I did like it, but I also didn't like it, if that makes sense. To me, it just didn't feel like the X-Men. Um, the X-Men kind of are all about, Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants. And to me, isolating themselves on an island didn't feel like a peaceful coexistence. I mean, yes, they had peace because until they didn't, until Orcus came in and just, but they had peace because they isolated themselves. And I don't know if that is the same as, peaceful coexistence. Anyway, it just felt a little off to me. It wasn't the X-Men I knew. I also didn't like the resurrection protocols. To me, that took out um, the humanity. Like, what makes us human is that, the emotions tied to death and the fear of it. I mean, it just took out, like, you weren't afraid. There were no consequences. That's what I'm trying to say. There were no consequences of your actions. Didn't matter. You just get, resurrected. No big deal. No grief, no mourning, just, no big deal. It just took, part of the humanity out of the X-Men for me. For example, um, X-Men 97, episode 5, if you haven't seen it, just like skimmed like a minute past this because I'm going to reveal a spoiler. I assume everyone has seen it by now, but honestly, you never know. So basically in that episode, it got nominated for awards because they showed all, the whole spectrum of humanity, like the highest of highs, happiness, and then the lowest of lows, grief, mourning because of Gambit's death. That's why that episode, was so highly rated because it tugged at your heartstrings. It showed it got in touch with your humanity. Anyway, so that's why I didn't like it. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, back to the status quo of being hated and feared." Back to they were afraid of the mansion, which me, I have a soft spot for the mansion. I mean, goodness sakes, I built one. Because that's what I grew up with. I grew up with the animated series. Like that's how I first learned about X-Men and the Jim Lee era of comics. That's where I first discovered them because I started at X-Men 1 and then I started collecting backwards. So yeah, for me the mansion is just like has a soft spot because of that. But after reading this though, I will say yes, they're back to the status quo of being hunted, feared, etc. But this is different. Like you read this and you think, oh, okay, it's a new take on that. It's something different. So just before you're like, oh, I don't want to read it because status quo. No, you should definitely read it. It's so good, and I'm going to explain why, like what makes it so good. So we're at the mansion, and Orcus has taken over the mansion, and this woman, Dr. Ellis. I should have known that. I should have known that. Anyway, she is taken over, and she's now becoming the warden because they're turning it into a prison. And she has this associate of hers that I think like I have questions about this issue, so I need your help. I need help in the comments. I'm thinking he's a mutant because at some point she asks, "Are we alone in the mansion?" And he's pauses and says, "Yes, we're completely alone." So I feel like he's a mutant. I feel like because even though they hate mutants, you know, they do find them useful at times. I mean that there's a history of that. So I feel like he is a mutant. So, and you see this and Kitty's uniform and her Lockheed plushie, and you're like, oh, because she says burn all the personal effects, basically tear this down to the studs, the whole mansion, and, get rid of Cerebro completely. And they're making it a prison. And so, okay, and this, the first prisoner, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's Professor Xavier. I mean, that would be the most obvious thing. I could be wrong. And who else? I mean, who else do you think it is? Because we know it's not like any of the other main players because they all are in different books. So it has to be Xavier, right? Which, but you would at the same time you would think, well, that's so obvious. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, who else? Who else could it be that's that important that they'd already have them captured? So we have, the lineup of who's in this book. Jubilee's not here yet, not in the book, but of course she's on the cover, so she's coming. So Wolverine's visiting an old friend who's dying, and apparently there's like some kind of, this is a bottle, probably of alcohol, that whoever dies first, or whoever dies, it goes to the winner, basically. And Wolverine, he talks about death and how it's just darkness, and blackness, he doesn't remember, dying. And he says sometimes he misses it, the quiet. And so we see Gambit and Rogue, because Wolverine called them to help with what's on the next page. And and Rogue, she's narrating it, which is cool. It's in the green. She says, Wolverine almost seems scared. At least that's what I thought she was going to say, because she's like, just my imagination. But for a minute, it felt like he was, nah, can't be. And I'm going to say scared. So, yeah. Okay. What also makes this book good, is that they Gail has written them with their accents, Gambit and Rogue, because a lot of times they're not written with their accents, or they just like the writers kind of write them with their accents and then kind of like throw in a word or two that would uh, tie in with their background, but they normally don't, for the most part, write them with their accents the entire time. So I appreciate that touch, I really do. So he calls them in to deal with this. It's a dragon. And Gambit's in awe. He's like speechless, and Rogue's like, I felt that way when I first saw the Shi'ar. And Wolverine's like, yeah, this dragon eats people. And so he's Saturang, the god snake, which I didn't know who that was. I mean, I kind of like, had to look that up. And apparently he's like a student of Dormammu, and he was first introduced in Iron Man. I mean, I mostly like, yeah, I haven't read that series, so I didn't know that really. And he kind of can look into their souls, and he sees a thief, a hunter, and a scared little girl for Rogue. And it's interesting because he says the scared little girl who cared for nothing, for no one, frightened and desperate for love, for touch, to be wanted, still hiding in the body of a woman. He's just pathetic. And to me, like Rogue, she's had the X-Men as her family, and now that she has control of her powers, he has Gambit, and she's kind of always had Gambit. I think what this is talking about is that she is always going to have that like scared little girl inside of her, because I mean, I know that I still have that shy, awkward little girl inside of me, and sometimes I feel super shy and awkward. Um, sometimes in these videos. So I think that's what he's talking about. Um, so apparently this dragon has, Doctor Strange has one eye of Agamotto, and this dragon apparently has the other. Um, so Rogue's like, Gambit, do you want to jump in at any time? Any day now? And he's like, just hold him, just so apparently he has a plan, and Rogue's like, that's easier said than done. And the dragon calls Rogue a tavern wench and a harlot. Those are both old school insults. You don't hear those very often anymore, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. And okay, what is interesting about this is that okay, so Gambit's plan was he basically took the Eye of Agamotto off of this dragon and said, "Hey, one more step, and I will destroy it." And what I found interesting about this is that um, the dragon says, "Look for me in Revelations, child. I am immortal." Okay, so just quickly, you know me. Um, I go off on a tangent. I don't mean to. So Revelations, book in the Bible, last book in the Bible. It's actually my favorite book to study because it has so much crazy symbolism. So what he's talking about is, okay, so Leviathan isn't specifically mentioned in Revelation by name. It's mentioned in Job and Isaiah, and it's a creature out of the sea. It's like a big serpent, a snake. Some translations have said a crocodile, but it's definitely like a sea creature. But of course, they have snakes, in the ocean. So anyway, in rivers and stuff. So what I found is interesting that he, mentioned that specifically because in the book of Revelation, the uh, serpent, the beast that comes out of the water is actually the Antichrist. And so, yeah, so I thought that was interesting that Gail threw that in there because, yeah, the Leviathan is like the beast, the monster that God will slay, in the end times during Judgment Day. So, and in Revelation, the beast that comes out of the sea is the Antichrist. So, just a little teeny bit of trivia there for you, because I like that kind of stuff. So anyway, Gambit's like, okay, so one more move, and I blow this to pieces. And I love that she put this. I love that Gail put this. Like, I don't like you. I don't like any of you at all. Gambit's like, fair. And the dragon's like, I was just trying to slumber. So I thought that was funny. So Gambit's like, I'll tell you what, you don't eat anyone for a year and I'll give this back to you. And, Gambit suggests Antarctica, which is interesting that Gambit suggests Antarctica because, of course, that's where he was dropped off. Like the X-Men left him after his trial when they found out that he was the one that led the Marauders down to slaughter the Morlocks. Of course, Gambit, didn't know that that's what they were going to do at the time, but still, he still was participated with that. So Gambit also says, well, now you owe me a boon. Like you owe me a favor. And the dragon says, yes, that is the currency of nobility. So and the dragon's like, I'm feeling generous. So I'm going to give you guys a little tip. There's something coming, something ruinous. And he's like, I don't know how to say it in your language. And he says, endling. So, of course, they don't really know what that's about. And then there's this panel right here. And Gambit's like, what's this about? And she says, this is why when people ask for me, my sexuality is 100% X-Men. So, okay, my question to y'all is that in reference to like her liking guys and girls? I never heard a rumor that people thought Rogue liked girls as well. So is that was there a rumor and I wasn't aware of it? And then this is like quelling that pretty much once and for all. Like I don't know what that's talking about. So if you can clue me in, because I don't remember ever hearing that rumor. I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of rumors about other characters that I've heard, but I've never heard that rumor about her. So yeah. Anyway, so Rogue mentioned that when she went to hug Wolverine, he pulled away, and she's like, well, just, is he thinking of my time when I couldn't touch anyone? Is that just a coincidence? I feel like that's going to come back into play later in this series. I don't know. I mean, don't like quote me and say, oh yeah, for sure. But I feel like otherwise, why would they put that in there? Like the fact that he's scared, and um, he didn't want to hug her. So anyway, so Scott calls and says, "Hey, I need, Nightcrawler needs a favor." Um, oh, and I will say, like, looking at Scott, okay, in like the X-Men title, um, he looks so young, like so super young, and here he looks age appropriate. I really like the art. David Marquez. I mean, I really like his art, and it's not like copied. Did you guys hear about that controversy? Ooh, okay. I won't get into that because this is, I'm already running over. But yeah, I will let you know about it in the comments. And also, I love that the dialogue in this is not like super over the top and campy like another, X book recently. Again, talk about that in the comments because I'm already like running over. So anyway, Cyclops called. Nightcrawler needs them, so they're like, oh, okay. So there's this girl in the woods in Oregon, and there's these, you know, people chasing her, and she's like, you know, leave me alone. I'm not a mutant. I didn't go there. I didn't want to go there. I just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to live my life. I didn't choose sides. And what it looks like is going on, see, there she is right there, is that they are further mutating her. Because look, now she has antlers and her legs are more deer-like. And the voice is like, what is your name, child? And she said, Rosa. And she's like, no, what is your real name? And she says, Fawn. My name is Fawn. And then there's this scary pair of hands saying, come to mommy, which, that is scary. So apparently what Nightcrawler needs is there's this kid in the hospital, and I don't know why, like, the light's off today, because, okay, there's a little bit better. But anyway, there's this kid in the hospital, and he loves X-Men, and he's really sick. He's dying, and he loves X-Men. So it's kind of like a Make-A-Wish sort of thing. And so they go in and meet him, Harvey X, and you notice he has a poster of, giant size X-Men on his wall, and you can see there's a little Wolverine action figure and an Iron action figure. And the rest of the action figures, I can't quite tell who they're supposed to be. I mean, so if you can tell, let me know. It's hard to tell, but Iron Man and Wolverine, you can definitely tell. And of course, he's super excited because he's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are my favorite." Um, he's like, "I know everything about you," and he's like, "Logan, pop your claws." Notice he calls him Logan, so he knows his real name. Um, and Logan talks to the doctor and says, "Where are his parents?" And she's like, "I sent them home." And he's like, "Call them back now." And so I feel like it's sad because how animals can sense something's wrong, like they can sense when their owners are gonna have like a seizure or something, or sense when they're gonna die. I feel like since Logan has those heightened senses, he knows that something's gonna happen. He knows something's wrong. So, you know, Rogue, she's talking to the kid, and he says what pretty much all guys say, like, "Oh my God, you're so hot." And Rogue's so funny. She's like, "Well, he ain't, Wrong, exactly. Anyway, so I mean, I feel like some guys, the only reason they like Rogue is because, the animated series, that one scene, uh, and the fact that she is really pretty and um looks good in her uniform. And well, pretty much I know that there are some guys out there. That's the only reason they like Rogue. I mean, not saying all guys are like that. No, for sure not. But there are definitely guys out there that that's all they like about her. That's all they know about her, basically. Anyway, so in this moment, he's like, "You're my very favorite," and she's like, "His hand is cold." And look, I mean, she can actually touch his hand and feel it. And then something happens. He has a seizure, and like he's a very low level telepath and precog, and he says, they're coming. You have to help them. One of them is the Endling, and that's what the dragon mentioned. And he said, it's something's coming, something ruinous, and he said Endling, and yet this kid is saying you have to help them. So yeah. So unfortunately, he dies. And Rogue's just distraught. She's just like, she just can't believe this. So she says, basically, I need to get away. I need to go somewhere where I have I just need to get away. I just need to run, from my grief. So they go to Louisiana, this place that Gambit knows and apparently frequents a lot. He probably is friends with this guy, Marcus, because Marcus actually brings him out some really special, like hard to get beer. So obviously he knows Gambit really well, or at least, knows him enough to know that that's his favorite. So Rogue is kind of like, so what are we doing? What do we do now? Like, what are we doing now? Are we X-Men? Are we not X-Men? And she's said, I keep thinking we almost have everything. Like the dream is kind of, it's dead. I mean, now it's, I just feel an emptiness. Like, do we even try to carry on? And she's like, who would lead us? And Gambit says, well, you would. And then she mentions Cyclops. Cyclops is building something up there north in Alaska. And Wolverine's like, no, absolutely not. Can you imagine a community where, Cyclops is there, he's everywhere, watching your every move? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that again. It makes me think of X-Men 97 when, and the professor has died and they're stuck with Cyclops as their leader. And, Wolverine says, the worst thing about, the professor dying is that now we're stuck with you. So, that kind of made me think of that. So, and Rogue called Kate Shadowcat, and she said, I don't want anything to do with being an X-Men anymore. I'm done. And Gambit, is trying to console Rogue and saying, maybe we shouldn't worry about it. Like, maybe it's not our problem anymore. Like, we don't need to take the weight of the world on our shoulders. And Wolverine agrees. Like, Gambit's like, we can just live. And Rogue, she's really upset, and she's like, "You don't understand. We have to do something because of Harvey." And she's goes on to say, before the school, like I had nothing. I had no reason. I had no family. I had nothing, and I feel like have been made like this, for a purpose, and there has to be a purpose. And she's like, I can't go back to just living with no purpose. So if I have to do it by myself, I will. And, Wolverine's like, hush. And she's like, don't tell me to hush. And these kids, come out of the woods and they say, help us. And they're like, you have to help us. She's coming. So she obviously is the claw woman we saw getting to Fawn. And what I want to know is, why do they have a horse? Like, is she like a Valkyrie of some kind? That'd be cool. Or does that have something to do with her mutant power? Is this horse? That'd be awesome. And then I feel like she has some kind of speed because her arms are drawn a little bit, you know. And the other two, your guess is as good as mine. Oh, and this panel. Okay, let me I took a picture of it because honestly, I had to take a picture of it so I could blow it up. Like, because on my phone, it's not very big. So here's the bonus scene. Obviously, you can't read it right now because it's too small. So, like I said, I had to take a picture so I could blow it up. So it says, it's always the same with you, isn't it? Watching your most trusting, your most loyal die alone, while replacements sprout up in the ashy soul of their predecessors' graves. I know who the pillars of your house are, Charles, your house of X, and I'm going to remove them just to see it collapse all around you. Goodbye, Charles. I love you. Okay, so who do you think is talking? Like, is this like a Cassandra Nova thing again? Because, the whole she is coming, and this person sounds like they know Professor Xavier and, they love him. You can see there's a broken bottle. Um, some guy in a mask. I'm not sure who that is. Um, I'm sure you recognize a couple of those characters. And then at the bottom is interesting, like these robot cat dog like things. And then this girl. So yeah, if you so I have questions. Like I did questions throughout here, and so if you know of any of these, like if you can help me out, put them in the comments below, please. And especially if you know anything about the ending panel, like the bonus page, because I don't know. I have no idea. Like I don't understand. I don't know who it could be. So, let me look at it one more time. Moira? Like I don't understand. Like who is it? Anyway, so if you know, let me know. And I'm sorry this went on so long, but there was a lot to talk about and I was excited about a lot of this stuff. So yeah, if you have answers to my questions, please let me know because I don't know. So, I hope you enjoy this video and I hope you go out and get this. Like I said, it feels different because they're not just okay, like the Cyclops book, yeah, they're a team, they go on missions, so that feels pretty normal. But this um Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine right now trying to figure out their place in the world, um that feels different to me. I mean, it really does. So anyway, oh, I ordered some of the variant covers of this too, but of course they're not here yet. So I'm excited to just get those and share those with you guys. But so anyway, you should pick it up. It's really good. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you think there's something like some things they could have done differently? Let me know if you want to know about the controversies I mentioned. So anyway, until next time, bye.